Today we're going to Victoria. No, not that Victoria, this Victoria, where apparently a kangaroo stole the crown? Anyway, we're going there because 3 people have died and a pastor survived a mushroom poisoning in Leongatha, Victoria, where 5 people attended and only 2 left alive.
Erin Patterson was charged with murdering her former in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, along with Heather Wilkinson, by serving them a deadly meal containing poisonous mushrooms in July.
Death cap mushrooms were the alleged cause of death, only requiring a 20-cent coin-sized amount to kill someone. At first, they thought it was a mass gastro event, but after 3 people died, things were increasingly looking suspicious. At this point, considering there were only 2 survivors, the question becomes, was this an innocent, innocuous food poisoning or a nefarious, intentional food poisoning? Let's find out. In early August, we first learned of the deaths of 3 people, an older couple and a pastor's wife. All died after weeks of gastro-like symptoms that turned out to be a deadly mushroom poisoning. The lunch was hosted by Erin Patterson, pictured here getting out of a full car because there wasn't much room. She cooked the meal for her parents-in-law and her auntie and uncle by marriage, one of whom is a pastor. Now, it's also worth noting her estranged husband, whose parents turned up and were killed, did not attend due to unknown reasons. Now, I don't know if this guy knew that he dodged a mushroom-shaped bullet, but let's just say I think they were estranged for a reason. I guess if you are what you eat, she was trying to turn him into a fun guy.
Oh, you stink!
So Erin hosts 4 of her in-laws for a lunch that initially goes fine until the very next day when all attendees, aside from Erin, are hospitalized with extreme gastro-like symptoms. Now, I've heard of hating your in-laws, but this takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, damn, lady. Unfortunately, after weeks of deteriorating conditions, Erin's parents-in-law, Don and Gail Patterson, along with her aunt by marriage, Heather Wilkinson, all passed away. However, thankfully, the pastor survived. Now, I'm not a religious guy, but if this guy can survive a death cap mushroom poisoning, maybe he was onto something. I don't know. It's at this point the case goes from a seemingly innocent food poisoning to a potential murder. And to find out whether this food poisoning was indeed accidental or intentional, we have to take a closer look at the chef behind the deadly meal, Erin Patterson. Now, we start with the meal itself, a simple beef Wellington. Now, I don't know much about beef Wellingtons, but I thought, do they normally have mushrooms, deadly or otherwise? So I Google beef Wellington recipe. And if we go ahead and click on the first link, it literally says here, 250 grams chestnut mushroom, include some wild ones if you like. Guys, we can't be putting out these instructions. People take this stuff too literally. And here, look, we go to another recipe. And what do we see when we go scroll down? What do we have here? You can use any mushroom you like. Guys, this is like criminally dangerous recipe practice right now. But I digress. The meal definitely needed mushrooms. And when asked where she got them, she said, I had used mushrooms that I bought from the local supermarket, as well as other dried mushrooms I had bought from an Asian grocery store. Now, in the preceding weeks, she was not arrested, presumably because the police didn't want to make an arrest until they had an exact cause of death and had reasonable suspicion to arrest her on murder charges. And so this is her outside of her house, crying, kind of trying to explain her side of things. Let's just take a look.
It's a tragedy what's happened.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I'm so devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Don. Don is still in hospital. The loss of Ian and Heather and Gail, who were some of the best people that I've ever met.
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago.
Okay. This is just sad, man. I'm pretty sure this is an act, but it's just kind of awkward. Also notice that she got the names wrong. She said Don is still in the hospital. Don died. Ian is the one who survived. She's mourning a guy who survived. So clearly I think she's got her head a little mixed up here. Oof, let's just keep going.
And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Can you tell us
and the loss to the community and to the families and to my own children who've lost their grandmother.
Can you tell us a bit more about the lunch?
What I can tell you is that I just can't fathom what has happened. I just can't fathom what has happened.
I don't know why she's answering these questions like this. It just feels like she's trying really hard to say the right thing, which I guess you would want to, even if she was innocent. I don't know. This feels weird to me. This whole thing feels odd.
That Ian and Heather have lost their lives, and Gail has lost her life, and Donna's still in hospital, and I pray that he pulls through.
Yeah, again, she's mixing up the survivors and the victims. I mean, she's all over the place here.
And you must be pretty shaken up by this as well.
I'm devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives.
She's sorry that they lost their lives, not sorry for anything else.
How are you
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
Can you tell us where the mushrooms came from?
No comment. Just cry through it. No need to comment on anything controversial like that. See, I don't know why she goes around her car this way. It feels like she thought there was something in the passenger side. She forgot. She's trying to ignore the cameras, but they're just standing there and throwing questions at her. This whole thing is just weird and awkward to me.
Yes, I say I didn't do anything. I love them. And I'm devastated that they're gone. And I hope with every fibre of my being that Don pulls through. That's what I have to say.
She's wishing Don pulls through. Lady, Don's dead. I mean, you're trying to sound diplomatic here, but you're just screwing it up.
Were they picked by you, or where did they come from, Erin?
Now, is it just me, or like, should we check those groceries just to be sure? I mean, there could be another bad batch of mushrooms in there. You never know. Okay, that video was weird. Now, is it a coincidence that no one else who bought mushrooms from any of these surrounding grocers ever got sick or poisoned? No. It is not a coincidence because Erin has now been charged with 3 counts of murder and multiple counts of attempted murder.
She's also charged with attempting to murder Mr. Wilkinson, who was at the lunch but recovered, and of plotting to kill her estranged husband, Simon, on 4 separate occasions.
4 times she tried to kill her husband? My God. Oh my, she's going for a double hat trick. My God. Yes, last year her husband spent 2 weeks in an induced coma after a mysterious stomach illness and would have almost certainly been poisoned and probably died had he attended that lunch. Okay, so this lady is just a straight up menace, allegedly, because her lawyers do refute that she had anything to do with it. They claim she had nothing to do with the poisonings, even though she cooked the meal. And they claim that she went to the hospital 2 days after the poisoning. Notably, all other attendees went to the hospital the immediate next day. Additionally, Erin says she only stayed overnight, which is a drastically different experience to all the other attendees of the lunch who spent weeks in hospital. She did also admit to giving her children leftover beef Wellington with the mushrooms scraped off.
Ms. Patterson says her children were not at the lunch as police previously said, and had instead gone to a movie, eating leftovers later which had the mushrooms scraped off.
I wonder why you would have done that, Erin. Why serve it without the mushrooms to your own children? That one baffles me. Whew. And finally, she did admit to dumping her dehydrator into the tip in, quote, a moment of panic. So, to summarize, while Erin awaits her next court appearance in May, here are the key findings police have in making their case against her. They have the presence of death cap mushrooms in all 3 of the victims confirmed by forensics in late September. And this is kind of the case open and shut. I mean, there's almost 0% chance she found anything deadly as a death cap mushroom in any kind of a grocery store. So that's a pretty slam dunk one and done right there. The dehydrator, of course, that she alleged she used to dehydrate the death cap mushrooms, I guess, was obviously found and in the possession of the police now. So that's going to be a key piece of evidence, especially since she has admitted to dumping it. The police have her initial statement, which was essentially no comment, which is not the most convincing statement to give, which might be why her lawyers encouraged her to release a more lengthy explanatory statement that makes a few claims of innocence that, will be up to the court to decide. They have her husband's mystery illness from last year, which is just like comical attempted murder. I mean, is she a character from The Roadrunner? I mean, this is ridiculous. They, of course, have a witness to the murder, Ian Wilkinson, the surviving pastor, because, well, he saw everything that went down and surely will testify against her. And finally, the police have the contents of her home, which was raided the day of her arrest. Now, we don't know what they found. They seem to have done a pretty thorough search, so maybe they found something. Maybe they don't even need to have any evidence from the house, but wow. And that is a summary of the Erin Patterson case and the deadly mushroom meal. Like I said, her next scheduled court appearance is in May, so we may have an update then. But at this point, we leave the story with what I think is a pretty clear picture of what went down in Victoria on that fateful day. I want to, of course, express my condolences to the victims, Don and Gail Patterson, as well as Heather Wilkinson, all beloved members of the Corumburra community. This lady, jokes aside, this lady is totally psychotic and did a horrific crime. But with that all being said, thank you for taking the time to come on this journey with me. Sometimes I see such a baffling piece of news that I need to discuss it so that I can process it. And I hope we've done that together today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time. Cheers.